The first missile intercepted over the Persian Gulf, flashed white fire, turning midnight into morning for a fleeting second. In that instant, the world changed. Radar screens lit up, submarines shifted, and fighter jets roared awake. People stared at breaking news banners asking the terrifying question, is this the beginning of war? No one officially declared it, just explosions in the distance, cyber attacks, and oil prices spiking by sunrise. Military families received feared calls. Machinery was already moving. The confrontation stepped into the light. To understand how the world reached that edge in 2026, go back years before the first missile. Back to sanctions that strangled economies, drone strikes, and broken nuclear agreements. For decades, it was a cold conflict, cyber warfare, assassinations, regional power plays. Both sides insisted they did not want full-scale war. Both sides prepared for it anyway. Iran saw itself surrounded by American bases and alliances tightening like a noose. Washington saw Iran as a destabilizing force, funding militias and expanding missile programs. Every year, rhetoric hardened, red lines blurred. Then came 2026, when a single incident refused to stay contained. It began in the Strait of Hormuz, the narrow artery through which a fifth of the world's oil flows. A U.S. naval vessel reported aggressive maneuvers by Iranian fast attack boats. Warnings were issued. Then, in the chaos of speed and suspicion, shots were fired. Flames rose from the water. Both sides accused the other of striking first. The truth drowned beneath politics. What mattered wasn't who fired first. What mattered was what came next. Iran launched coordinated missile strikes, targeting U.S. military installations in the region. Washington responded within hours. Stealth bombers lifted into the sky under cover of darkness. Cruise missiles arced toward Iranian missile sites. The message was clear: retaliation would be overwhelming. And just like that, the long-feared scenario was real. In Tehran, crowds gathered in anger, chanting against America, demanding strength. In Washington, emergency meetings ran through the night inside the Situation Room. Satellites watched every movement. Cyber units launched invisible attacks. Banking systems flickered. Government websites crashed. Misinformation flooded social media. This was not just a war of bombs. It was a war of perception, panic, and control. Yet even as missiles flew, something more dangerous loomed in the background. Iran's regional allies began mobilizing. Rockets were fired toward Israel from southern Lebanon. Militias in Iraq threatened American personnel. Oil infrastructure in Saudi Arabia faced drone assaults. The battlefield expanded without formal orders. It was no longer a two-player confrontation. The United States surged forces into the region. Carrier strike groups moved closer to Iranian waters. Military analysts warned that invading Iran would be catastrophic. Washington insisted deterrence was the goal. But deterrence is fragile once blood has been spilled. Inside Iran, air defenses roared to life as American aircraft struck deeper targets. Explosions shook cities at night. Civilians sheltered in basements. State television broadcast destruction. The leadership framed the conflict as a fight for sovereignty. Narratives became weapons. Then came the turning point no one predicted. A massive cyber attack crippled a major U.S. energy pipeline. Gas stations ran dry. Panic buying swept through cities. Pressure mounted on the White House. At the same time, a missile strike in the Gulf misfired, hitting a commercial vessel. Dozens of civilians were killed. Global outrage followed. Markets crashed. World leaders scrambled to prevent a slide into something far worse. Behind every headline, nuclear. Iran insisted its nuclear program was peaceful. Allies were not convinced. As airstrikes intensified, reports suggested Iran could accelerate enrichment if cornered. American officials debated striking nuclear facilities. Once that line was crossed, no turning back. The climax arrived in the skies over central Iran. A wave of American aircraft targeted a hardened facility. Iranian air defenses fired relentlessly. One American jet was hit, the pilot ejected. Images of his capture flooded Iranian media within hours. The symbolism was explosive. In the United States, anger surged. Calls for decisive action grew louder. Others warned that escalation could drag Russia or China into the equation. The world stood at the edge of a wider war, one miscalculation away from disaster. But war is not only fought by generals, it is endured by ordinary people. In Tehran, families lined up for fuel. In Tel Aviv, air raid sirens interrupted sleep. In American towns, parents refreshed news feeds, waiting for updates from overseas. Fear became global currency. The cost was no longer theoretical. It was human. Back-channel communications quietly reopened. Intermediaries carried messages between Washington and Tehran. Publicly, both sides projected strength. Privately, they measured the risks. Military planners presented casualty estimates that made even hardened officials pause. After weeks that felt like years, the pace slowed. Missile strikes became less frequent. Rhetoric remained fierce, but signals of de-escalation appeared beneath the surface. A prisoner exchange was negotiated. Limited sanctions relief was discussed. Neither side declared victory, because in truth, there were no winners. The aftermath of 2026 reshaped global politics. Energy markets reorganized. Military budgets surged, justified by how close the world had come to catastrophe. The fragile balance between deterrence and destruction had been tested and barely held. Iran emerged, battered but defiant. The United States maintained it had reasserted red lines. Both narratives contained fragments of truth, concealing the fear that haunted decision-makers. Historians would later debate the exact moment war began. Was it the first missile? Or did it begin decades earlier when mistrust hardened into inevitability? Modern war is no longer confined to trenches. It moves through fiber optic cables and satellites. Once unleashed, it rarely obeys intentions. The Iran-America conflict of 2026 did not become World War III. It became a demonstration of how quickly global powers can slide toward the abyss, and how thin the line is between calculated retaliation and uncontrollable escalation. The missile that lit up the Persian Gulf that first night was intercepted. It never reached its target. But for a brief, blinding moment, it illuminated a truth the world could no longer ignore. Peace is not the absence of war. It is the constant negotiation with it.